The Tower of the Elephant opening. Torches flared murkily on the revels in the mall, where the thieves of the East held carnival by night. In the mall they could carouse and roar as they liked, for honest people shunned the quarters, and watchmen, well paid with stained coins, did not interfere with their sport. Along the crooked, unpaved streets with their heaps of refuse and sloppy puddles, drunken roisterers staggered, roaring. Steel glinted in the shadows where wolf preyed on wolf, and from the darkness rose the shrill laughter of women, and the sounds of scufflings and strugglings. Torchlight licked luridly from broken windows and wide-thrown doors, and out of those doors stale smells of wine and rank sweaty bodies, clamor of drinking jacks and fists hammered on rough tables, snatches of obscene songs rushed like a blow in the face. In one of these dens, merriment thundered to the low smoke-stained roof, where rascals gathered in every stage of rags and tatters. Furtive cut purses, leering kidnappers, quick-fingered thieves, swaggering bravos with their wenches, strident-voiced women clad in tawdry finery. Native rogues were the dominant element, dark-skinned, dark-eyed Cimmerians, with daggers at their girdles and guile in their hearts. But there were wolves of half a dozen outland nations there as well. There was a giant Hyperbian renegade, taciturn, dangerous, with a broadsword strapped to his great gaunt frame, for men wore steel openly in the mall. There was a Shemitish counterfeiter with his hooked nose and curled blue black beard. There was a bold-eyed Brythunian wench sitting on the knee of a tawny-haired gunderman, a wandering mercenary soldier, a deserter from some defeated army. And the fat, gross rogue whose bawdy jests were causing all the shouts of mirth was a professional kidnapper, come up from distant Koth to teach women stealing to Cimmerians, who were born with more knowledge of the art than he could ever attain. This man halted in his description of an intended victim's charms, and thrust his muzzle into a huge tankard of frothing ale. Then blowing the foam from his fat lips, he said, "By Bel, god of all thieves, I'll show them how to steal wenches. I'll have her over the Cimmerian border before dawn, and there'll be a caravan waiting to receive her. 300 pieces of silver, a count of Ophir promised me for a sleek young Brythunian of the better class. It took me weeks, wandering among the border cities as a beggar, to find one I knew would suit. And is she a pretty baggage?" He blew a slobbery kiss in the air. "I know lords in Shem who would trade the secret of the Elephant Tower for her," he said, returning to his ale. Hello there. You are listening to the Drunken Pen Writing Podcast. Today is part 2 of our One
of them days.
Come, man. Today is part 2 of our bookcast, The Coming of Conan the Cimmerian. Ooh, yeah. Gonna be talking about Conan the motherfucking barbarian, the Cimmerian. You want to read it? Better go meet up with your librarian.
Yeah.
Conan. Yeah. Also, I was looking up pictures of Call the Conqueror. Looks just like Conan, exactly.
Yeah.
Because there's comics where they fight each other.
Yeah.
And how the fuck would you tell the difference? Could have gave one a different hairstyle at least.
Oh, see, I figured like Cole was like blonde or something just to make it.
No, he's literally like, if you look at the pictures, exact same guy.
Oh yeah,
black hair, long, everything.
Maybe they're like separated brothers or something.
I didn't read it, so I don't know. Maybe that'll be for another bookcast in the future. Oh boy. Oh well, I guess I should do the introductions. I am Jam Master Funk Flex. I'm just combining a bunch of DJs. I am your host, Caleb James. With me, as always, Spencer, the Nemedian Necromancer Church.
Yeah.
I actually wrote down a name for you today because I came up with it earlier.
Yeah.
And as I was looking, there was only one other name on my list. And it's not really a name. I don't know what it means. So tell me if this stands out. I don't know if I wrote this in a fever dream because I don't remember writing it at all. But tell me if this means something to you. Blood and poop. That's all I got. See? The Nemedian Necromancer, blood and poop. So, not even how I go about writing those things.
Yeah.
Ever. So I don't, maybe I've just Had a dream, and this will be a great story.
Didn't have a city in there or nothing.
No, that might have been like a one, like a Seinfeld moment. In my sleep, I think it's some kind of hilarious, witty, wonderful bit of merriment, and as I come to
not so much
the awakened world, it's gutter talk. Not even gutter talk. Below the gutter, the stinking sewers, which we might get to today. All right, we had to read 2 stories for this week. We read something about an elephant man. Oh no, I dropped Groot.
That's not good. Mindy would be very mad, dude.
No, she wouldn't. If she did, she would fucking realize I was using her Groot thing as a bookmark. For this week, we had to read The Tower of the Elephant and The Scarlet Citadel. Oh man, was I excited. I enjoyed thoroughly both of these stories.
Yeah, and I whenever I was looking things up about Conan and Robert E. Howard and stuff like that, one of the stories that I always saw pop up was the Tower of Elephants. Like that one was always kind of referenced and stuff, like of what people liked, the most and stuff like that. So I was pretty excited to finally checking that one out. Yep,
it was a quality one. Let me see if I can find a quick synopsis to tell the people about the Tower of the Elephant. Fuck you, Wikipedia. Suck my ball sack. Ooh, baby, I want you to lick and suck on my balls. Here we go. Plot summary for Tower of the Elephant. Conan decides to steal a priceless gem from the Tower of the Elephant, encountering a rival thief, a giant spider, and an alien creature in the process. This was a cool story. As you heard from the introduction, that's where the story starts off, at a seedy bar. And is it not the seediest? Everyone has swords. We'll talk about this a bit later, but most of the gentlemen in that establishment were of the darker skin, apparently, which is a theme we have seemed to hit head on into the next story, but
Conan himself is also
he's tan.
Yeah, but he
is not a dark skinned man. He's a tan man.
I'm just saying he's not like white.
But that doesn't make sense because he comes from the north. Like way up Viking north.
Well, maybe their north is different.
I'm sorry, but on these pictures, he looks at most Middle Eastern, maybe.
Yeah.
I think he just got a bitchin' tan, personally. Well, this story starts off in the seedy pub, and Conan, a thief at the time, he finds out about the Tower of the Elephant and a special gem, which wields all kinds of crazy powers. And the man who told him that, there's a little bit of fisticuffs that ends up happening, which I enjoyed. But really, Conan just fucks that guy up.
And everybody.
Well, no, a lot of people run out, but yeah, it's a good old fashioned slobber knocker. If you count your slobber knockers to be stabbings.
Yeah.
He murders that man. That guy was a sex trafficker, though, so fuck him.
So, real quick, I think so far, my favorite Conan is, Thief Conan.
Thief and Conan's a good Conan. He's... Apache helicopter. Oh, no. What am I
It's Charlie! It's Charlie!
I can't believe it. What the fuck is that thing landing on?
Is that on
my
your
house?
Yeah, your roof.
Any day now. Man, we need a new studio, dude. We need a lot of new things.
Yeah.
New mics, new studio. So old Conan, after thrashing the bar patrons, he has the information he wants, and he is going to climb the Tower of the Elephant to steal the gem. That's his plan, anyway.
Yeah.
This is not your ordinary tower. Not your ordinary compound, rather. Because there's a wall and a garden and, being Conan, he could just climb up straight marble.
Yeah, he's really good at climbing things.
Yeah, that's a little strange, too, because from the north, how many fucking trees are there? Anyway, he gets in this garden, and to his surprise, the stories he heard were true. There are no guards, really. There's one guard who's murdered already.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, what the fuck? Why is this guy dead? He does a little investigation, immediately finds another thief. Which the descriptions of this guy kind of boggled my mind because he was a fat guy, right? But he was super acrobatic almost.
I was thinking kind of like the Iron Sheik.
just sturdy.
Yeah, like, because she was always kind of top heavy. Like, he was kind of all in the stomach and, like, little legs.
Yeah.
So, like, something like that with, like, a very racist, like, Aladdin haircut and mustache. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
If you mix those two together and, like, jumping around, that's what I kind of had in my head.
What was that guy's name again?
Something I couldn't probably pronounce.
I guess I could just look over the synopsis again. Yeah, because that guy was kind of pivotal for a moment.
Yeah, I liked him too.
He was a smart fella, unlike Conan, who just goes by instinct. This guy was intelligent, and he was the most intelligent thief.
Yeah, he's like
who's ever thieved. He's like a legend.
Yeah, like Conan knew him by name whenever he said who he was.
Mm-hmm. Here we go. We could just go with this. In the dangerous and dirty mall, Thieves District. So that's where the bar was. Is the Thieves District in Zamora. That's where Conan picked up the information he needed from one of them filthy Kothians, which we'll meet later on in the next story. The person who lives in this tower is Yara, the sorcerer. Yeah. There's a lot of sorcerers, which sword and sorcery, I guess, but there's a lot more wizards and shit than I anticipated before we got into this, which I don't know why I thought there'd be less sorcerers. I thought it'd be more just fighting. It's
kind of like an adult, like, He-Man.
Right. Yeah, pretty much. But, I don't know how I forgot this guy's name. He, because he's taken off of your city. He is Taurus the Zemedian. Nemedia, he's from Nemedia, so. Yeah, so you had the gentlemen sizing each other up, and the guy introduces himself as Taurus of Nemedia. He's the Prince of Thieves, and he's stolen a lot of cool shit that he uses in the story. Chiefly, the reason why there wasn't a set of guards that had patrolled the garden is because they use lions.
Yeah.
And they stumble upon these lions in the dark, and there's like 5 or 6 of them, and they're shitting their pants. Well, loincloths.
Yeah.
At least Conan is. I don't know what the other guy was probably dressed normal. And nobody seems to be bothered by this naked barbarian. They point out that he's clearly a barbarian, but they don't seem perturbed by it. But anyway, Conan's thinking he's going to fight a bunch of lions, which I was kind of looking forward to. But then the dude just blows some dust. Taurus, he blows some dust he had on hand and just killed all the lions. Which was cool. Howard described that too, because hey, don't breathe that in. It's death.
Yeah.
I like that every powder and liquid and everything's just death.
Yeah.
I did find
except ale.
Ale. Yeah, that's not death. But I found a lot of things are kind of repetitive. And not just this story, but the next one too. Like in this story, there's a lot of dudes with bubbling fat lips.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's he uses a lot of phrases over and over, so that's kind of popping out at me now.
Well, even with describing Conan, each blazing blue eyes, blue black hair,
which again you have to remember in a pulp magazine, these are pretty much one-off stories. So if some kid just picks up the story, you want the same description. But when it came to the bubbling lips, you could change it up a little. But everybody has fat blubbering or bubbling, one of the two, and then. So Conan and this gentleman just climb up this giant, the tower is smooth. It's polished, right? And it has gems and shit on it.
He had a rope. Remember?
He had a Gatling rope thing he threw up there, and it hooked onto something, and it turned out to be a gem. But they managed to climb relatively easy. And then when they got into the tower, this is where it got pretty neato-skeeto in my book. The Taurus, who shows his thieving self a little bit, I don't know if you caught the hint where he's like, hey, Conan, could you maybe go back and climb up on top of the tower and look down and make sure nobody saw us or anything? And Conan's thinking, I know nobody saw us, but I'm a trusting barbarian, so I'll do it, but I'm going to keep my eye on you. Yeah. So there's clearly going to be a double cross, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He just wanted to have Conan there just as backup if something were to go down.
Because they said they were going to split the gem or some shit. They teamed up. But poor old Taurus didn't have a chance. Did not have a chance to portray old Conan because he got fucking murked real quick. He walks into this room and he just all of a sudden is falling backwards, holding his throat, and he's bubbling, again, more bubbling lips, and he's dying, he's dead. Conan sees, oh, that guy got killed. And there was puncture wounds.
Yeah.
Enter the big spider. Yeah, I like Conan fighting Big Spider.
Yeah.
That's come on, that's great. The way Howard describes the monster specifically is wonderful, but the spider was awesome. And, which is another theme, the venom, the death drips from the monster on. I think in this case it was his shoulder, and it burned Conan's skin. In the next story, it's a serpent, and it
burned his thigh.
Yeah, but that one left a scar. This one it didn't say anything about a scar. But this is a mighty spider. Anybody fucking, he's Conan. So he kills the spider in a rousing battle. And, he throws a chest or something at it, doesn't he? Like a big thing of jewels, and it crunches it. Like, he didn't just murder the spider. Because the spider starts wrapping him in web.
Yeah. Well, it keeps on going around, and he's jumping and leaping, but he has to... He
can't use his sword because it'll get stuck.
Yeah, and as he's trying to fight it, he still has to, make sure he's not stepping in it because it's falling all over the floor and stuff like that.
Super sticky, and it's, each string is the size of a rope.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, he just eventually just got really pissed, right?
That's how most of these stories go.
And throws the chest at it.
Like an 800-pound thing of jewels, like a box or chest of jewels, and it just crushes the spider.
I like the description whenever, the green, you was talking about, the green, pus was coming out of it.
Yeah, that was... Every time he murders one of these monsters, there's always a description of the grossness. Hold on, let me see... No, I got that. Also, by the way, that introduction of that fucking dirty sex trafficker, the main thing I liked about that was the description of that guy. Like, he was just a revolting human. This part was during the possible double cross.
Oh, okay.
When Taurus told him to climb back up the thing to make, be a lookout real quick or something. Well, this was just a line that I absolutely love. It's probably my favorite Conan line, because I've heard this before I ever read any Conan. So we go to, the Cimmerian glared about, embarrassed at the roar of mocking laughter that greeted this remark. He saw no particular humor in it, and was too new to civilization to understand its discourtesies. Civilized men are more discourteous than savages because they know they can be impolite without having their skulls split, as a general thing. I fucking love that.
Yeah.
He's just saying, and as a barbarian... You talk out of turn, you're getting your wig split.
Well, yeah, or at least somebody's gonna try to do it. And you're able to take you, but be able to back yourself up.
Yeah, and civilized society. We talked about this in the last episode. Actually, civilized society, you can't just split somebody's wig. You can't just bust somebody up when you have a disagreement. Yeah, somebody cuts you off in traffic and gets out and starts flipping the bird. You can't just go murder them. But if you're a barbarian, and you can back it up. But see, that's when guns fucked everything up.
Yeah.
Anyway. That was just one of my personal favorite lines. But then he murders the spider, and then that's when he goes into another chamber.
Isn't there another lion somewhere?
Oh, that's when they're in the garden. Yeah, I forgot. Before they climbed up, that another lion popped out of nowhere. It was either one that just didn't die, or one that wasn't there when the guy powdered him. Yeah. And then Conan just fucking he just murders it. He killed the lion. After he killed the spider, that's where he just goes to the main chamber with the elephant guy, right? Yeah, he goes into the main chamber, and what was that feller's name? He was like an H.P. Lovecraft ancient one. He was an alien.
Yeah, I really like this character, and
his description was cool.
And maybe one of my favorite pictures so far.
Yeah, the illustration of it is... a man with bent legs and a giant elephant head.
Yeah, I was almost thinking about I might have to get this as a commission. See if I can find anybody who read Conan and be like, "Do you remember the elephant guy? I need that."
You should take a picture on your phone to show them.
Because then especially too with people's art styles, that could be done in so many cool different ways.
Right. And I like how he describes all the rooms too, because you have the ivory door, and there's always a amazing thing when he goes into a place.
Yeah, and this is one of the full page pictures.
It's so cool because the guy he's on a big altar. He has giant tusks, and it's blind, the elephant thing, so its eyes are glossed over. I mean, it's white in the picture, but I think it was they're gold or something. Yeah, and just the whole thing is fucking cool, and it's shackled to its big throne. But Conan thinks this is Yara at first, but it's not. Or no, the thing thinks he's Yara because it's blind.
You gotta love the shot of Conan there.
His fucking nice ass. That'd be mad uncomfortable climbing shit with that.
Oh, it's super comfortable.
It was super, yeah. I mean, but if it's chilly out.
Other than the frost giant's daughter, there's been no place cold.
Mm. But when Conan enters and meets this giant elephant creature, something he's horrified by. He's never seen anything like this. The thing's crying, and it's in bad shape. The cool thing about this, though, is when Conan first walks into it, he thinks it's just the elephant idol.
Yeah.
He didn't realize it was like a living thing at first. And then when it roused, that's when he was all fucked up. Like, oh, this is horrible. Like, what the hell did I just walk into? But this thing's name is Yag Kosha. And it's a ancient space traveler who was visited for thousands of years until he was the last of his kind and was imprisoned 300 years ago by the scheming Yara, goddamn sorcerer. And the way this fun story ends is Conan has to cut this thing's heart out.
Yeah.
The thing tells him, because he grabs the elephant gem. The thing can't see, but it directs him. So Conan gets the elephant gem, which is just like a crystal ball looking thing. And then it tells Conan to cut its heart out and squeeze the heart onto the orb, the crystal thing. So Conan does as he's told. And when he cuts the heart out, he's like, I hope this is the heart, because it's no heart he ever seen.
And he, I forget what it is, but he has to say a certain thing to the guy who imprisoned him.
He has to say the thing's name, and there's a phrase. And then he squeezes the heart onto the orb, and the ball just like sucks up all the blood.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And then he goes into the other, is it another chamber he goes into where Yara was sleeping, I believe? Or like meditating, or I don't know. He was in some kind of, he was in his own chamber doing some goddamn shit, and he was very pissed off when old Conan comes barging in. Who the fuck are you, guy? But here's where it's cool. Conan, he does his little saying and stuff, and then I forget if he puts the thing on the table or something, but like the sorcerer starts shrinking.
Yeah.
And he shrinks and like, does he end up getting sucked into the...
I think into the crystal or the gem.
Yeah, he's trying to escape, and he keeps getting drawn to the gem, and then he's shrinking, and then finally he gets sucked into there, and I think the Yag Kasha, the big elephant thing, is waiting for him, so he probably fucks him up. It doesn't really go into that part, but the elephant thing tells Conan that as soon as that's done, he has to get the fuck out of Dodge.
Yeah, and he's like, yo, just follow the way, they'll be away.
You'll be good. And Conan, he does as he's told, and he goes through, and all the soldiers are like dead, and he gets the fuck out of there. And it was a...
Doesn't the tower end up collapsing?
Yeah, it collapses, and Conan, it ends with him standing kind of in the distant watching, and he's like contemplating what his next move is. He's like, well, that didn't work out.
Yeah.
So the only real casualty of that story was poor Taurus the thief, which he's a thief, so...
And the guard.
Who the fuck cares about the guards? They're working for a sorcerer.
Well,
They're bad guys.
I mean, it's kind of like, the old stormtrooper, like, you need a job.
I guess. Working for a sorcerer. I wouldn't want to do that. Seems like that'd be a way to get killed quickly.
But all in all, I really enjoyed this story.
I gave that story a solid 5. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
It was definitely one of my top Conan stories. Though I really liked the next one, the Scarlet Citadel, as well. Mainly because it has a dungeon. Yeah. I actually wish there was more dungeons. Like, that was what I was really interested in. The beginning, the end, but the middle part, I would give this story a solid 3.5 or 4. It would have been higher if there was, a little more dungeon. Dungeon was fucking cool. We got method. Dungeon. Since this loads up, we can get on with this. I know you gotta go to an orgy after this.
Oh, yeah.
One of those buffet orgies.
Yum jums.
Those are the nice kind, because everybody's ugly. You just gonna eat chicken and leave. Ooh, so the Scarlet Citadel. Trapped in the dungeons beneath an evil wizard's scarlet stronghold, Conan must confront a slew of new challenges and foes as he fights to free himself and reclaim the throne of Aquilonia. Featuring Duplicitous? I never heard that word. Featuring duplicitous betrayers. I feel like you have to say it funny. Like, indubitably. You gotta say it with a weird... I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not drinking today, so
that's the problem.
Problematic.
If you were drunk, you'd be nailing all these words.
Nailing it, or at least I would have that faux confidence of a drunkard. At least I think I was nailing it, and I would just continue while I fuck up. featuring duplicitous betrayers, sparring sorcerers, and all of the brutal excitement you've come to expect from the rampaging Cimmerian. This trade paperback collection, and then that goes into that. Yeah, but this story starts off with Conan has like a meeting with some kings of some other lands,
like the neighboring
kingdoms.
However you want to phrase that. Towns.
There's like what the fuck's that guy's name? Strong Boner. No, that ain't it. There's betrayal though. I'll tell you that. So Conan, he has apparently a meeting of sorts that he's supposed to go to, and he brings his army. I forget. But Conan's army is decimated on the plains of Shamu. Having answered a plea for help from his ally Almoris of Ophir, Almoris' treachery joined with Strobonus of Koth and the wizard Sothalanti to overwhelm Conan's forces and capture him. So it was like these two kings, and he was supposed to help one, and then they teamed up, and they got this fucking evil wizard, and they destroy Conan's whole army, and again, he's the only one alive.
Yeah.
And that the fucking sorcerer, he goes up to Conan, which was a really cool scene. Conan's just fighting off everybody by himself, and everybody's like, hey, we need to shoot arrows at that dude. Just kill that dude. He's killing all our best swordsmen. And then it goes on to like, we trained these guys for 7 years straight, and now they're just murdering them, and let's shoot arrows. But the wizard's like, I got this. Don't worry. Wizard's good, sorcerer bad. Sorcerer, I got this. Don't fucking worry about it. And no, man, that ain't cool. He gonna fucking kill you. No. Sorcerer goes up to him. Conan's holding the sword over the head. He strikes down with a mighty blow, and the sorcerer just touches Conan, and Conan goes down like a sack of shit.
Yeah.
He is out. What happened to Conan? The sorcerer puts his hands together and shows his little ring that he had on his finger. Little spikes come out. Little things or something, and they got poison. Not death this time.
No, just
paralysis.
Yeah.
And then they bring Conan back, and they're victorious celebration. But they're not, because the whole town sees that there's like barely an army coming. These guys, they don't know if they won or lost because so many fucking people were murdered by Conan. And Conan, he is in like a cart tied up, and he's paralyzed, but he can see and hear everything, and he's just growing more angry. Surprise, he's just very furious. And then he finally gets so furious he starts laughing, which scares the shit out of everybody. They're like, oh no, we made this guy mad. But they make him an offer of, if he gives up Aquilonia, gives up being king, and gives it to one of the other guys or something, he signs a paper, he gets all these riches in his own fucking kingdom, or not
like
kingdom,
his house,
yeah,
or like his land or whatever.
Yeah, he could just go fuck off and be happy. But Conan's like, I will not be a betrayer. I shall not do such things. And they're like, all right, well, dungeon you go. So they take him to the Scarlet Citadel, and which is really cool how they describe the dungeon, which is guarded by, hey, don't do that, which is guarded by a eunuch. And the eunuch is like another fat, gross, disgusting dude. And they put Conan in the dungeon, lock him up. They like tie him like to this dark wall. Everything's dark and there's no lights. Stop doing that!
Quit it!
And then Conan's chained up and the chains are so heavy they would break any normal man. But you know, Conan's not normal man.
He's able to move around with them.
Yeah, but he cannot break them. So he's stuck. And then all of a sudden, there's a slippery snake. Slippery snake. And this thing has its head's the size of a horse's head.
That's so weird.
It's so slippery, though. Slimy and gross. And this thing's got fangs a foot long. And it's sniffing Conan. And he is not moving. He's like, I'm going to be a statue and this thing will leave me alone. And one of its drippy drips from its fang lands on his leg and burns through his skin and his thigh. And he's just sitting there gritting his teeth and bearing it because he can't move or it'll eat him. And then slimes off away, slippery snake, it goes away. And then Conan, it says that leaves a scar forever. But Conan's like, well, what am I going to do? Because this thing's going to fucking eat me. And he starts actually regretting his decision not to take the offer.
Yeah.
And he has a little monologue in his head where I should have took the offer. And then he thinks, you know what, fuck it, I still want to take it, even if I knew this was going to be the outcome. And then in comes the racism.
This one was bad.
Yeah, but I mean, yeah. You know what? Let me just find the page so it's not my word saying this. I don't want to. I mean, it wasn't like overtly racist in the way that it could have been, I guess. But it wasn't good. Like,
no.
Just the description. Because at first, like, a man enters the. How does he get past the fucking eunuch?
He gets the
He
key
steals
from,
the key. Yeah, he stole the key somehow, this gentleman. And he comes in. He's very tall. and dark.
Real dark.
And at first, I'm just like, okay, like, because the way things are described, you just think, okay, is he a bad guy? You don't really, it's not described just yet. You know what? I do remember some of the phrasing. And he goes up and he's real excited. And he's got a big sword and the keys, and he tells Conan in his native language, not Conan's language, this guy's, which is like described as some kind of African country.
Yeah.
And, but Conan's been to that country, so he can speak it roughly. And the guy's, you know, hey, what will you give me if I let you loose? And Conan's like, oh, I'll give you, as the king of whatever, he'll give him a certain amount of money in a house or some shit. And the guy's like, no, that's not good enough. What will you give me? And they do this until Conan gets super pissed because this guy just wants fucking everything. Like, you know, his body weight in gold. And
well, it seems like the guy's not all there.
Maybe, but here's where here's the thing. Conan, when he was in that country, killed that guy's brother.
Oh, yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
He killed the gentleman's brother, and this guy was not happy about it, and he had a great line, too. It was something along the lines of, I have to look it up, because it was a fucking cool line. The fucking group thing. I'm doing something. Trash! Fucking trash!
See, if you had some cool metal bookmarks...
I do. I have like 5 of them.
Why don't you use any of them?
I am using them on other books. I read more than one book at a time sometimes. I just don't get back to it for a while. Oh, here's where we go before I get more into that cool line. Here's where the descriptions already start off as like, okay, at least in a 2020 lens.
Well, everything in a 2020 lens.
You know, as the man was entering the chamber, which is a very dark chamber. There's barely like no light. But Conan sees something, because it goes through a long description of his eyes trying to adjust, and everything's dark and stuff. So, as it moved into the light of the torch over Conan's head, the king saw that it was a gigantic black man, stark naked, bearing in one hand a huge sword, and in the other a bunch of keys. Okay, giant black man, you know, for the time, okay, you'll take it. But then it immediately goes into the black spoke in a seacoast dialect, and Conan replied, so now we're just referring to this guy as the black. That's where it already goes squirrely. I'm like, oh, goodness gracious. So, old-timey racism, it's weaseling its way in.
I wonder if Paulie Cooley ever read this story.
I don't know. Is that where you got
the idea?
I hope not. And this gentleman calls Conan Amra, which is the name for a lion in his dialect, and the gentleman is a Cushite. That's his tribe or country or whatever they are. But like I said, Conan kills the feller's brother in the past, and he wants revenge. But you don't know that right away. They go into some descriptions and stuff. But here's the cool thing: after they're haggling here, he's dangling the keys and shit. What will you give me? Conan, 15,000 lunas and a palace in Poitain, offered the king. The black yelled and stamped in a frenzy of barbaric gratification. More, he cried. Offer me more. What will you give me? You black dog! A red mist of fury swept across Conan's eyes. Were I free, I'd give you a broken back. Which is awesome. So Conan ends up saying, free me and I'll pay you your weight in gold pieces. The red-eyed glittered. The white teeth flashed wolfishly in the torchlight. Hey, you white dogs. I like that. I didn't call them the white dogs. That was good. You are like all your race. But to a black man, gold can never pay for blood. The price I ask you is your head. That's the line I liked. And then they also described the black man's head as woolly. And it's a good introduction into probably what we'll be reading later, I'm sure. Anyway, Conan, the black man goes to kill Conan with the sword, and as a fool would do, he's taking his goddamn time, and he puts the sword over his head and being all dramatic for nobody, because nobody's watching but Conan. And then the slithery snake comes and bites him. Sneaky snake. Just, huss! I got you, motherfucker. Huss! And he fucks that dude up, too. He's just sitting there just beating the shit out of him. I don't know what that snake did. He drags him off, and he's just all lumpy and blubbery and gross. Like, he's just a heap. This is where it made me roll my eyes. Wouldn't you know it, the black man happened to drop the keys and the sword right at Conan's feet.
Yeah.
Right at his feet. And he was able to scoop him up with his toes, and he fucking undoes the keys, or the locks with the keys, and picks up the sword. And he makes his way to the door, and because earlier it described there's a bolt on the outside, he can't get out. He's fucked. Yeah. And then the eunuch comes into play, and he's like, hey, you can get out. And Conan, because I guess there's bars or something, Conan just fucking stabs that dude. So, what an idiot. You see the dude with the big sword, like, don't fucking taunt him. Like, step back.
Yeah, at least dude from afar.
Yeah, like, what are you doing, guy? So the eunuch gets cut, rightfully so. And there's no way out, so Conan has to go through the chambers of the dungeon. This was what I liked, the dungeon. He goes through these corridors, and he has his torch. And then, as he's going through, he keeps getting distracted, like a goddamn idiot. Yeah. He hears like what sounds like a woman laughing or something. It's like, that's probably something I should investigate in these dark, awful chambers.
Instead of getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I'm going to go investigate the laughing woman. So he goes and does that, and he stumbles upon what is like an octopus monster of sorts. It's like an alien octopus thing, or maybe something the fucking sorcerer conjured up. It's gross, whatever it is, and it's like all of a sudden makes awful noises and starts just slopping after Conan. And he's like, oh, fuck, and he's running, and he manages to get away. The thing decides to just stop chasing him for some reason, which it comes to be that in the main corridor, the monsters or whatever's in this fucking thing don't go there because the big snake, they're like, I don't want to fuck with that thing, because that's how badass this fucking 80-foot snake is. Slithering and sneaky. And then Conan, I don't forget, how does he do this? He drops his torch. He tripped over a body or something. He tripped over something, and his torch goes out. And this part I thought was a little stupid. Is because instead of picking up the torch and trying to relight it or something, like, he doesn't have anything to relight it, but instead of like blowing on it, try to relight it, he just takes off in the darkness, and he fucking gets lost. And then he ends up at a well, or what he thinks is a well, and there's like air coming up from it, and then all of a sudden there's like this fucking demon thing chasing him, he's not quite sure. And then he ends up backtracking, comes up on the fucking stump with the torch, and then blows it back up. Yeah. It's like, why didn't you do that in the first place, you fuck?
Yeah, well, how would you even be able to do it after that time?
I don't know, that was another one of those plot devices that was a little stupid. And then he's going through, and then what does he hear? More stupid noises. He's like, I better investigate that. And he sees a guy who's wrapped up in vines. And this guy's a blubbering idiot. He like, his eyes are blank, and he's just like moaning in the worst agony ever, and he's just drooling, and he says he looks like an idiot. Conan fucking chops the vine, and the flower monster thing starts like, blah, 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 which was cool, because it turns out the flower monster thing, its roots are buried in hell.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, so if he pulled up on the roots, he'd fucking bring hell with him, and that'd be bad. So it was a good thing he cut the fucking flower monster, which attacked him. And then once the flower monster was dead, the victim comes to, and it turns out he's a grand sorcerer wizard himself. Yeah. He's kind of evil, but not as evil as the one that the other Thoth, whatever he is, that guy put him in the chamber.
Like 10 years ago.
Yeah, so the guy, he's been in there for 10 years in the dark, just getting his soul sucked on by this fucking plant. Which, that has a lot of things that, like, how did you not starve to death? Why aren't you just...
Well, if you're a wizard and then another wizard is doing wizardry things to you, like, you know, it's, I don't know. Maybe they're feeding him every couple of days.
But then he had, like, kind of unsteady legs, but he's walking. And then another cool line is, wouldn't you know it, as they're walking through the dungeon, guess who comes upon them? The slithery snake again. And it turns out the snake's like this fucking demon hell monster. Conan's like, I guess we're getting eaten now. But the snake stops in his tracks when it sees, because it's not looking at Conan, he's leading the way, it's looking at the wizard, and it's just like, fuck you, I'm out. Yeah. The snake just fucking slithers off all, you know, gaily or whatever it's doing. And Conan's like, well, what the fuck was that about? And the wizard has a cool line about, like, you know, you see my flesh as is, but it's, you know, the demon snake sees what's inside or something. He's evil inside, so...
It's like, I'm a bit of a... you might not know this, but I'm a bit of a big deal.
I'm kind of a horrible monster myself, but since you let me go, I won't kill you. We're gonna revenge on this fuck. And then, awesome scene. They go back to because he's like, Conan's like, hey, how the hell do we get out? And another awesome line, too. The wizard's like, there's only one way out, and if you decide to go the other way, you go down. Yeah. And he's talking about going to hell. So they go back to the entrance with the dead eunuch, and Conan's like, well, this is, pointless. We're not going to be able to get out of here. And the wizard's like, hey, watch me do my shit, son. And he just fucking reanimates the gross, fat, dead eunuch, and he's all...
Which is so much better, because he could just easily just, unlock the lock with, you know what I mean?
He just made the fat guy, and his guts are hanging out, and he's all gross and just disgusting, and he unlocks the door, lets him out, and then as they're running away, Conan hears his body just slump to the floor, plunk. That was great. Then they go up and they drink some wine and have a nice bro moment. They bro out real quick because
he finds out he's a king and that
he's reminded that Conan's the king, so he's like, oh, your majesty. And then he gets this fucking demon hell monster because Conan
like this thing too.
Yeah, Conan has to go back to, because while he was locked up for almost like a day or two, not long, but however long he was locked up, the wizard and the two king guys, they're going to take all his fucking land.
Yeah.
Like his kingdoms, you go to different cities and shit, and they're already there fucking shit up. As the wizard shows them on like a crystal ball. And then he's like, I know how you'll get there faster, because you'll never get there by horse. Comes giant demon fucking flying monster, which is the picture. It was just like...
Yeah, it's weird.
It wasn't what I thought. I thought it was kind of like a bat monster, but this thing's head was like fucking some kind of H.P. Lovecraft octopus thing.
It almost kind of looks like a weird, stingray kind of thing. It looks with a weird mouth.
Its head kind of looked like the Tremors monster's mouth, or the Snarlack, whatever it is. The fucking fangy... I don't know. It's just fucking gross. Conan's not very happy that he has to get on this thing, but he does. And then he goes back, and the king, one of the guys who's becoming, took his spot as the king. He's a big dickhead, and they're already taxing everyone. They moved really quickly with doubling the taxes, killing all the merchants, fucking causing riots and doing all kinds of crazy shit. I got lost a little bit here when I was describing some of the, how the kingdoms work and stuff. Because it was very condensed. It was only 1 or 2 pages he talked about that. And I was like, what is happening? What I got is Conan had men under him who should have been the king when, took over, but didn't.
Because he doesn't have a son.
Yeah, and, the people didn't believe in them, and they just started...
they also thought he was dead, too, so they were just kind of
they thought Conan was dead, but, the guy who's I forget his name, Tretero or something... he was supposed to take over. He was trying to cool things down. But everyone was like a giant idiot. As soon as they found out Conan was dead, it was like, panic! Everything's going bad! Loot! And they just go dumb. I didn't understand that too much. But anyway, Conan finally comes back and rabbles up with some army and just... End of the day, he just fucks everybody up. He murders everybody. And what happened to the wizard, though? He didn't murder the wizard, right? Or the sorcerer. Because he killed the kings in this big battle, because it was really cool, because it was huge army against small army, but Conan's army, they were better archers, and they were just shooting and fucking up, and even so, there was only less than 2,000 of them, and only 500 lived, but they chased down all the other army and killed them once they were fleeing. Oh no, that's what happened. Conan, how do I forget? It was the most awesome ending. Conan, on his black steed, chased the fucking... the sorcerer who was on the fastest horse thing ever, and they're jumping barges across the river, and Conan he catches up to him, and he cuts off the fucking sorcerer's head, and this evil demonic eagle comes flying down and takes the dude's head and flies off with it, and the sorcerer's gross headless body starts chasing after it. Yeah, and that's how it ends. I like that. In the picture too. The eagle, there's a picture of it, the eagle taking his head and flying off with it. I rather enjoyed that myself. Yeah, but again, more dungeon, a little less army battling. I would have been more satisfied with the story. Preferably not the Black. Maybe just give that guy a name you use or something. So far it seems like Howard relegates black characters. If they're not just villains, they're evil dogs, and they're definitely kind of a lower life form, which probably is the views of the 30s. And that's a little icky. Makes me feel a little icky. You mentioned the next story, Because you started reading it. I have not. What one was that? The Black Coast or something?
Queen of the something.
Queen of the Black Coast.
Yeah.
And then it's followed by the Black Colossus, and you mentioned there might have been a little...
Well, just in the names.
So
we thought that was where it might,
So far, does it seem like that's where it goes?
Well, in the Queen one, they do mention... Because they go to, like, this island, and it's full of the blacks.
Oh,
they're
just the blacks. Come on, man.
But, like, so far, it's not any of, like, how the one guy was, like, a naked, babbling, like, fool, like, you know what I mean, kind of guy yet. So, like...
We'll see.
Yeah. But I'm only, like, halfway through that story, so who knows?
Hopefully the idiotic evil villainous black guy was just, like, for that story. Maybe. We'll see. I've heard there's some things that might not please modern listeners or readers. But you know what? I mean, H.P. Lovecraft had a fucking story that was, like, just called the N-word or something. I remember. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, it was fucking bad. I have not read that story.
See, I haven't
I could bet you
far.
I could, that's not in the collection.
Oh, you know?
Surprise! They don't put that in the H.P. Lovecraft collections. Let me see if I could, ring up that name. We'll end the episode off of that. Oh, we'll end the episode off a reading of a super racist story. Yeah, I don't know why you would, oh, God. On the creation, I'm not going to say that. And just, really, dude? What was the story, though? He had a fucking story, though, that it was just, I'm pretty sure it was just, like, the N-word. And I was like, you can't have, like, even in the 20s, I feel like you'd get beat up for that. See, it's really hard to find on the old internet. Oh, that was a poem, and it was called On the Creation of the N-Word. And it's about a semi-human figure filled with vice, and they called the thing, I'm sure you can imagine. So, as long as Robert E. Howard doesn't have any of that kind of dialogue going on in these stories, we'll be a little better off. Anyway, if you folks want to check out what we write, which hasn't been anything lately, go to the drunkenpenwritingpodcast.com. That ain't it. www.drunkenpenwriting.com. You can go to Twitter and follow us at drunkenpenwriting. Go to Facebook and Instagram, drunkenpenwriting. And if you guys want to chime in on the old BookCast episodes, now that we're going into the third episode, you can do so. We will read your comments on there if we get any. And check out Monday when we'll post the next reading guide. We keep these things a week ahead of time. Enjoy your evening and day and all that fun stuff. See you later.
Bye.
The Tower of the Elephant opening. Torches flared murkily on the revels in the mall, where the thieves of the East held carnival by night. In the mall they could carouse and roar. In the mall they could carouse and roar as they liked. For fuck you.
Bad idea.
Man, well I fucking can't see because my mic is making shadows. I have to like bend. Torches flared murkily on the revels in the mall, where the thieves of the East held carnival by night. In the mall they could carouse and roar as they liked, for honest people shunned the quarters, and watchmen, well paid with stained coins, did not interfere with their sport. Along the crooked, unpaved streets with their heaps of refuse... Fuck. Refuse is spelled refuse. Why? Take two. Along the crooked, unpaved streets with their heaps of refuse and sloppy puddles, drunken roister... Oh, that's not even a word! Damn it! Roisterers? Did you see... What is a roisterer? Roisterers. Say that word, Spencer. Roisterers.
I think this all needs to be in. We're like at the end, like the end
Special
credits.
edition. Roisterers.
Or if we had like a Patreon, this is what goes on our Patreon.
Take 5. Along the crooked, unpaved streets with their heaps of refuse and sloppy puddles, drunken roisterers staggered, roaring. Steel glinted in the shadows where wolf preyed on wolf, and from the darkness rose the shrill laughter of women, and the sounds of scufflings and strugglings. Torchlight licked luridly from broken windows and wide-thrown doors, and out of those doors stale smells of wine and rank sweaty bodies, clamor of drinking jacks and fists hammered on rough tables, snatches of obscene songs rushed like a blow in the face. That whole thing's a sexual metaphor, it sounds right? Like. Fisting, blowing in the face, snatches. In one of these dens, merriment thundered to the low smoke-stained roof, where rascals gathered in every stage of rags and tatters. Furtive cut purses, leering kidnappers, quick-fingered thieves, swaggering bravos with their wenches, strident-voiced women clad in tawdry finery. Native rogues were the dominant element, dark-skinned, dark-eyed Cimmerians, with daggers at their girdles and guile in their hearts. But there were wolves of half a dozen outland nations there as well. There was a giant Hyperbian renegade, taciturn, dangerous, with a broadsword strapped to his great gaunt frame, for men wore steel openly in the mall. There was a Shemitish counterfeiter with his hooked nose and curled blue black beard. There was a bold-eyed Brythunian wench sitting on the knee of a tawny-haired gunderman, a wandering mercenary soldier, a deserter from some defeated army. And the fat, gross rogue whose bawdy jests were causing all the shouts of mirth was a professional kidnapper, come up from distant Koth to teach women stealing to Cimmerians, who were born with more knowledge of the art than he could ever attain. The man halted in his description of an intended victim's charms and thrust his muzzle... This man halted in his description of an intended victim's charms and thrust his muzzle into a huge tankard of frothing ale. Then, blowing the foam from his fat lips, he said, "By Bel, God of all thieves, I'll show them how to steal wenches. I'll have her over the Cimmerian border before dawn, and there'll be a caravan waiting to receive her. 300 pieces of silver, a count of Ophir promised me for a sleek young Brythunian of the better class. It took me weeks, wandering among the border cities as a beggar, to find one I knew would suit. And is she a pretty baggage?" He blew a slobbery kiss in the air. "I know lords in Shem who would trade the secret of the Elephant Tower for her," he said, returning to his ale. That fucking sucked.